Hello, welcome back. We're on page 345. We're going to do problems 13 through 18. And this is in chapter 5, section 7, where we're learning about point-slope form. So in these examples, we're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form, and here's going to be the process. Okay, first, we need to find the slope, because we don't have the slope, we have points. But we know we can find the slope, we have 2 points. Then we're going to use point-slope form. And I'm going to write it again. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. And then finally, we're going to change it to slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Slope-intercept form is the most simplified form of any of these, right? So that's what we're doing. We're going to be simplifying it. One question that comes up, and I mentioned this in the previous video, is which point do I use? This is point slope, not 2 points or slope. It doesn't matter which point you pick, okay? So I'll be switch out. Sometimes I'll use that one, sometimes I'll use that one. I'll switch back and forth. It does matter. And you can go and use the other point and see if you get the exact same thing if you don't believe me. All right, so problem number 13. This is my first x, this is my first y. This is my second x, this is my second y. My slope is going to be -2 subtract 2 divided by 2 subtract -2. That's a lot of 2's. -2 subtract 2 is -4. 2 subtract -2 is 2 plus 2, which is +4. And -4 divided by +4 equals -1. So my slope is -1. I could have written m equals each time, but I'm trying to be mindful of the spacing. All right? So now I got my slope. Which point do I use? It doesn't matter. I'm going to use x1, y1. So I'm going to use y subtract y1, which is 2, equals my slope, -1, times x subtract my x value, my x value, -2. Now that takes me right back where I was in the previous video. Y subtract 2 equals -1 times x plus 2. Subtracting -2 becomes x plus 2. -1 times x is -1x. You could also just say -x. I'm going to leave it in there so you can see the hidden stuff. -1 times 2 is -2. Finally, I need to do something with this. I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get y equals -1 times x. Now, you can check to see if this works for the other point by using 2 and -2. -1 times 2 equals -2, which is my y value. So I could have used the other point also. Let's do problem number 14. This is my first x, this is my first y, this is my second x, this is my second y. I've been using my Sharpie so much that it's not sharp anymore. I may have to switch to a different Sharpie. My slope, -6 subtract -4. 1 subtract 0. -6 subtract -4 becomes -6, and I don't have, well, maybe I can write it here. I was worried about fitting all these in. This is -6 plus 4, and 1 minus 0 is just 1. So my slope, -6 plus 4, is going to be -2, divided by 1, which just equals -2. Okay. Let's pick that point. Last time I picked the first one, this time I'm going to pick that one. All right? So I'm going to do y subtract -6 equals -2, that's my slope I just found, times x subtract 1. So just to save space, I'm going to do 2 things at the same time. I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to use distribution. This becomes y plus 6. -2 times x is -2x, and -2 times -1 is +2. And then to get the y isolated, I'm going to add -6 to both sides, and I get y equals negative 2x subtract 4. Now, I pulled a fast one on you, and I'm hoping you caught it. I said I was going to use that point. If I had used that point, I would have saved myself a lot of time. Because if my x is 0, that's my y-intercept. See, my y-intercept is negative 4. But I use this point to show you it doesn't matter which one you use. And that is going to come from that. So you be smart. You do what you need to do, okay? There's a lot of different things you can do. I'm going to pick up the speed for the rest of these. All right, so like I said, pause it if you need to, take a break, rewind it, do whatever you need to do. Here's my first x, here's my first y, here's my second x, here's my second y. My slope is going to be 3 subtract 1 over negative 5 subtract 1. 3 subtract 1 is 2. Negative 5 subtract 1 is negative 6. This is going to be negative 1/3 when I simplify it. Point slope form, y, I'm going to use 1, 1 because they're both positive, so I don't have to do that opposite. So I'm going to do y minus 1 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 1. Y minus 1 equals negative 1/3 x. Negative 1/3 times negative 1 is positive 1/3. Don't panic because we have fractions. You've been talking about fractions since you were in elementary school. You can do this. Excuse me. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. But when I add fractions, I have to have a common denominator. So I'm going to add 1 here, but I'm also going to add 1 here. It's just going to look like 3 over 3. 3 over 3 equals 1. So I'm still adding 1 to both sides. That's a common denominator. I get y equals negative 1/3 x. 1/3 plus 3/3 gives me 4/3. And you can leave it as 4 over 3. You don't need to change it. Please don't change it to a decimal either, because you'd be estimating it. All right, let's do the next 3 problems. Oh, I see a 0 there. I wonder if that's going to help. I see a 0 on that one too. This is my first x, this is my first y, this is my second x, this is my second y. My slope is going to be 10 subtract 1, 10 subtract 1, over 0 subtract negative 3. 10 subtract 1 is 9, 0 plus 3 is 3, and 9 subtracted 3 equals, 9 divided by 3 equals 3. So I know that my slope is going to be 3. Now, I'm going to pick that one. And I'm going to pick that one because I already know what the y-intercept is. I can skip everything else. I know that y equals mx plus b is the form that I want. Here's my slope. Here's my y-intercept. So I just write y equals 3x plus 10. Remember, the y-intercept is found where x equals 0, which is on the y-axis. Since my x value, my point here is 0, that has to be the y-intercept. I'm going to do the same thing with that one. Or you can do it the other way like I did this problem right here. Use either point and you're still going to end up with the same thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right. Number 17, here's my x, here's my y1, here's my x2, here's my y2. My slope is going to be 9 subtract 8 divided by 6 subtract 7. 9 subtract 8 is 1, 6 subtract 7 is negative 1. 1 divided by negative 1 equals negative 1. This one I am going to have to use my point slope form. So it doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to use 7 and 8. So y subtract 8 equals negative 1 times x subtract 7. I haven't said this yet because sometimes I have to anticipate when students make mistakes. In class it's a lot easier. But please do not switch. Like, don't use this x with that y or that y with that x. pick one point and stay with it. I use 7 and 8. So there's my x value, here's my y value. Okay? So don't mix and match. Going to use distribution here. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 7 is positive 7. And now I'm going to add 8 to both sides, and I get y equals negative x plus 15. And I could have also, talking about just showing the hidden stuff, if I left negative 1 times x, and I use a dot for times, sometimes I do that when I multiply by 1. You could have also left it like that too. It means the same thing. Finally, number 18. Here's x1, here's y1, here's x2, here's y2. My slope is 8 subtract negative 2 divided by 2 subtract 0. 8 subtract negative 2 is 8 plus 2, which is 10. 2 subtract 0 is 2. 10 subtract, excuse me, I said it again. Oh no, got into a subtraction inertia, I suppose. 10 divided by 2, I got the hiccups. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So my slope is 5. Again, I'm going to pick that one because it's going to save me some time. I've got my slope, I've got my y-intercept. This is y equals 5x minus 2. All right, I got one more example to do. We'll see you in that video. Good luck.